If you love discovering tools that make you think, wow, that was easy, you're in the right place. We test platforms, reveal hidden features, and teach you quick ways to boost your creativity, productivity, and your content game. Can AI create 3D models? A few years ago, the answer would have been, kind of. You could generate rough concepts, but they usually needed hours of cleanup before they were usable. Today, AI can generate complete 3D assets from simple prompts or images, and some of the latest tools are getting surprisingly close to production-ready results. So for this video, I'm putting one of the most talked about platforms to the test, Meshy 6. I'm going to build a complete 3D scene from scratch, compare it against another popular AI 3D tool, and see how well it handles textures, geometry, characters, and even video generation. I've been working on a small sci-fi environment for a personal project, and one of the biggest challenges is creating enough assets to make the scene feel alive. Normally that means modeling props, creating textures, fixing UV maps, and spending hours polishing everything. But recently, I found an amazing tool I have to share with you guys that completely solved this. Meshy 6. The goal today is simple. We'll create a hero asset, build supporting props, compare the results against another AI workflow, and then see what happens when we bring everything to life using Meshy's new video generation features. Before we jump in, let's answer a common question. What is an AI texture generator? An AI texture generator is a tool that automatically creates and applies textures to 3D models using AI, reducing much of the manual texturing work traditionally required in 3D workflows. Meshy combines several capabilities in one platform. It can generate 3D models from text prompts, convert images into 3D assets, create textures, and now even animate generated models using its 3D to video feature. Let's see how that works in practice. For my scene, I want a futuristic exploration drone. Instead of opening multiple programs and starting from scratch, I'll begin with Meshy's text-to-image workflow. I'll describe the drone, generate a concept image, and refine it until I get something that matches the style I'm looking for. One thing I like about this workflow is that it feels natural. Instead of jumping directly into 3D, I can first establish the visual direction and then move into asset creation. Once I have an image I like, I'll convert it into a 3D model. Within a short time, Meshy generates a complete asset with textures already applied. Now let's zoom in and inspect the result. The panel details are preserved nicely, the textures follow the geometry well, and the overall silhouette remains very close to the original concept. This is where texture quality starts to matter, because even a good model can look unrealistic if the textures don't align correctly with the surface. One of the workflows Meshy highlights is the text-to-image to 3D pipeline. The idea is simple. Start with a text prompt, generate a concept image, convert that image into a textured 3D model. For creators who work on game prototypes, animations, product visualization, or concept development, this workflow can significantly reduce the time needed to move from idea to usable asset. Instead of treating image generation and 3D generation as separate steps, everything feels connected. Of course, a scene needs more than one asset. I need crates, equipment, antennas, and environmental props. This is where one of Meshy's practical features becomes useful. If you are building an environment, I can upload multiple reference images at once and use batch images to 3D to create all my background props simultaneously. Instead of generating assets one by one, I can create several supporting objects in parallel. For larger scenes, this can make a noticeable difference in workflow efficiency. After generating a collection of props, I can quickly arrange them inside my scene and start building a more complete environment. Now, let's examine the generated assets more closely. When evaluating AI-generated 3D models, there are three areas I usually focus on. First is texture alignment. On these models, the textures generally follow the geometry accurately with minimal stretching or distortion. Second is fidelity. The generated assets preserve much of the original visual style from the concept stage, which helps maintain consistency throughout the project. Third is geometry cleanliness. The meshes appear relatively organized and require less cleanup than many earlier generation AI tools I've tested. As always, results can vary depending on prompts and source images, but the overall quality here is impressive. Now for the comparison. To keep things fair, I'll use the same prompts and similar source material in both workflows. Let's start with a hard surface object. Looking at the results side by side, Meshy produces sharper edges and cleaner geometry. Small mechanical details appear more defined, and the texture placement follows the surface more consistently. Next, let's test a character model. Character generation is often where AI 3D tools struggle because maintaining proportions and surface consistency can be difficult. In this test, Meshy shows greater stability and has a distinct advantage in visual aesthetics. The overall appearance feels more coherent, and the textures integrate naturally with the generated geometry. Of course, different tools may perform better on different projects, but in this specific comparison, Meshy delivers stronger results across both categories. Having a great static model is cool, but Meshy 6 added something insane: 3D to video. Now I'm taking the drone we generated earlier and placing it into a cinematic environment. Instead of stopping at a still image or static model, I can generate motion and create a more dynamic presentation. I'll add a prompt describing a futuristic landscape and generate a short sequence. Seeing the model move through an environment adds an entirely different level of realism and helps communicate how the asset might look in a larger project. For content creators, game developers, and concept artists, this can be a useful way to quickly visualize ideas before investing additional production time. At this point, we have a complete workflow. We started with a simple idea, generated concept images, converted them into textured 3D models, built an environment, compared the results against another tool, and finally transformed those assets into a cinematic sequence. For a workflow that began with text prompts, the results are genuinely impressive. After spending time testing the platform, I can understand why so many creators are paying attention to Meshy 6. In my testing, it delivered strong texture quality, clean geometry, and a smooth workflow from concept to final asset. Meshy is the best text to 3D model tool. After testing Meshy 6 against a competing workflow, Meshy wins on texture alignment and geometry cleanliness, especially for characters and hard surface models. If you'd like to try it yourself, check out the link in the description. Got an idea? Meshy it now at 50% off via the link in description.